I bet you all €5 that at the end of this talk, you're gonna love spoons. And I know right now you're probably thinking that you would never make a bet with a stranger, and you're right. So let me tell you something about myself first. You see, when I was a kid, this was my favorite toy. A Nerf gun, perfectly normal. But the reason I loved it was not because I could shoot in my brother's face, but this. Completely destroyed. Now, the reason why I did this is either because I'm a psychopath or because I'm a very curious person. Now, I like the second option, so we'll stick with that. Now, I used to break down all my toys when I was little, and the reason is because I wanted to know how they worked. And since I was a kid, as I said, I usually ended up with no longer functioning toys and no further knowledge on how they worked. And this is why the Nerf gun was my favorite toy. I did understand that, how every little piece of the mechanism helped to, launch the projectile. And it made me feel happy, like I accomplished something. So from this story, you probably understood something very important about me, which is that I'm a massive nerd. But, and this will astonish you, I'm not the only one. Actually, you are all nerds here, and by the same logic, every human being, for the simple fact of being human, is actually a nerd. But don't take it from me, take it from the guy I learned this from. A wacky old man named Aristotle. So, a couple of years ago, I stumbled upon a quote from him, translated from Greek, on one of my philosophy textbooks. It was about what defines a philosopher. And for Aristotle, a philosopher is one who feels marvel. Now, marvel is the feeling you get when you discover something new. When, for a second, you turn back to being a child where you spend a little time asking questions like why, how, what? And that is really close and akin to curiosity. So, what we can gather from this is that, well, we are all nerds, as I said, and also to be curious, you don't really need to be special. As a human, you are born with it. It's not a talent. It's not something you have to be lucky to have. You just have it. And it's not only in everyone, but it can be found in everything. And as I said, I'm a nerd. So I'm gonna prove this to you with spoons. Now, why spoons? Well, because if I can take something so common and mundane and boring and prove to you that if you look at it with a curious mind, then it becomes something way more than just a piece of cutlery, then everything has a chance, doesn't it? So let's start with something really simple that you probably already know. Spoons are made of steel. And also something else really important. Swords are made of steel. Now, if you didn't know, well, let me tell you that swords are awesome. And now, if you are acting as I said you should, so being curious, you should ask yourself how something so awesome and something so boring can be related. And again, the answer is steel. Now, if you make a quick research on the internet that I already did for you, and you look for the structure of steel, then you understand that it does have many different properties, and that's how a spoon and a sword are so different. But here is an important step, because if we stop here, we only learn something. But as I said in the beginning, this is all about understanding. So take a closer look and see how all of this is actually, well, it's connected. If you take that bent spoon there and you follow all this process written here, then you get something that it can be as hard, sharp, and deadly as a sword from a spoon. And that is truly remarkable, because at that point, well, to sum everything up, you don't need anything fancy, and you don't need to be born with curiosity. You just have no excuse and no justification to not go out and look at single detail that you can find and wonder and ask questions and go out of your way to answer them, because truly nothing is boring. And if in your life you find something actually boring, well then, people, you haven't looked deep enough.